What's going on, guys? Fearmaky here, bringing you another video. Let's get into it. Let's roll deep and keep grinding out there, guys. Let's dive into the video. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? Welcome back to another video. So I've heard and read your comments. I hear you loud and clear, and I am 100% on board with you guys. Pretty much everybody wants to see 4-player builds and guides, builds that are consistent and that's viable in the 4-player environment. I agree with you guys 100%. A lot of these speed kills and cheese builds, as some players would reference them as, are not really consistent, right? And sometimes it can feel pretty shitty, for lack of better terms, playing it in multiplayer or even playing solo. If you don't get the lucky crits, you don't get the lucky hits, you're not going to get the results that you see in the video. Yes, are they by far the strongest pound for pound hitting builds out there for speed kills? Absolutely. But you have to get lucky with them, and to play solely on luck and chance sometimes feel like shit, which is why I do have my Fearmaky build that I'm going to go over here in depth and in detail with you guys. You guys have asked for it, MMO Lantern. I hear you, man. So here's the guide. Here's the build. I'm going to do a guide first and show you guys exactly what's going on. So if you're here for the guide, exactly, just tell me what components to use, what mods to use, what weapons. Here it is. I'm going to show it to you. But if you really want to get the most out of the video and how the build truly works in a 4-player environment, and why I like this build and why I think it's the most consistent ultimate Lepic build all around online, and I'm building it for the future. I'm building it for season 1, for harder content, and for consistency. Then stick around for the video, stick around for the bosses, and I'll go over in depth and detail how I overcame all the hard bosses from day 1 and how I work, every fight in public or with my friends with this Lepic build. And it just flows, it feels good, it feels nice, and I can consistently do damage when I want at my own pace in my own time. Anyways, let's get down to the build. So for the reactor, you definitely want tech and fire skill power. It's going to boost your damage significantly, not only for boss fights, but also for mobbing and for doing dungeons. I have multiple videos coming out here in the next couple of days for dungeons, and this just by far feels the best. The build I'm going to show you, I use for bossing, I use for mobbing, I use for dungeons, I use for everything. Once you put this build together, you don't have to change from it at all, unless you want to go for speed kills and bang on luck, Anyways, burning mechanics reactor is what you want. You want to find an optimization condition for a weapon that you own. It does not have to be Secret Garden. It can be, in my case, I would prefer an Enduring Legacy, because that is my main weapon. But any ultimate weapon that you own, find the burning mechanics reactor that has tech and fire skill with it, and go after that. All right. For the external components, I am using the Slayer set. I have other guides on other rare reactors and components you can use, but I highly recommend you farming this. And with my build here that I'm going to show you, it's going to help you farm Pyromaniac and make your life so much easier, as opposed to relying on huge crits or quick kills and just having a miserable time inside the fight. But definitely go after this set, which comes from Hard Pyromaniac, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. You definitely want on the auxiliary power, MP recovery out of combat. Without this affix on the mod, the build does not work. Okay, it doesn't work, it doesn't flow, it doesn't do what I want it to do. So, if you don't have this MP recovery out of combat, even if you don't have the set, make sure your auxiliary power has MP recovery out of combat. I cannot stress this enough. All right, I don't want to hear it in comment that the build doesn't work, the build sucks, because it will suck and it won't work if you don't have MP recovery out of combat. For your sensor, you definitely want max MP. If not, your damage is going to be taking a huge hit. You're going to get like 8 orbs instead of 11 to 12. So definitely try to go for MP, max MP. Even if you don't have the Slayer set, make sure you have these stats on the auxiliary power and MP on the sensor. For the memory, doesn't really matter here. Defense, life, whatever you can get is fine. For the processor, you want max shield or anything else that will, you know, increase your survivability is fine. For the weapon, again, it has to meet the mounting condition. I am using Enduring Legacy. I'm pushing this up to the maximum. I'll do another video on this later. But that's the weapon I'm using to DPS, to be a DPS filler. But the weapon on my main hand is Secret Garden, so it procs the damage on the burning reactor. You have to make sure before you pop overkill, you have to have your Secret Garden or whatever mounting condition weapon equipped before you hit the overkill button. A lot of players are saying they're not getting the same damage result, and it could be, I've made this mistake multiple times, where you're using your overkill and you don't have the correct weapon in your hand when you pop it. Therefore, you're losing a 60% damage multiplier. It's insane. So make sure you have that there. The mod loadouts. It's the Fearmaky build. You do not have to have Firearm Master. It's a very difficult Transcendent to get. If you're lucky to have it already, good for you. If you look at my very first build that I did not have Firearm Master, and the build works without it. Of course, with it, your damage will be significantly increased. By 30, you'll get a 39% skill power modifier. So it's significant there. So make sure you have Firearm Master. You want Battle of Stamina. This is by far the most survivability you're going to get in the game, and along with skill duration for Ultimate Lepic, this is like the ultimate mod. I actually use this mod across all of my characters. I'm going to do guides for every single one of them, how I transition from Ultimate Lepic to them, and I highly recommend get this mod, upgrade it to the max. You will not regret it. You can use it across all of your characters. Front lines, with skill critical hit rate and skill critical hit damage, you definitely want this to see the damage increase. You don't have to upgrade it to max, but just having it equipped will definitely make your life easier. And this goes across for all the mods. You don't have to have all these mods upgraded to max. Of course, with each upgrade, you'll notice your damage increase significantly, but try to do the bare minimum, right? Say, listen, I don't have the time, the gold, the Kupia shards to upgrade them, but at least have the default base. Have all of these items equipped, even at level 0, and you'll notice a significant damage increase and survivability across your character. But if you were to ask me which module would you recommend upgrading first, I would definitely 100% go with this module, upgrade it first. And then I would go with Spear and Shield for additional defense and added power. And then I will go with Nimble Fingers for the cooldown reduction. All right. And then, you know, slowly start doing your MP conversion and your MP accelerants. The higher damaging ones, I would save them for last, and then skill duration as well. Obviously go for that like 4th. You know, but then the damage one, I would go for that after. You have to balance out your mana and your skill duration, right? If you have a lot of duration but no mana, it doesn't matter. You can have a 15-second overkill duration, but if you have 0 mana, you're going to get 1 orb out. Same thing, if you have 500 mana but you only have 8-second duration, there's only, you know, there's a 1-second GCD, there's only so many shots you're going to get out. Unless you have the Sharp Shot mod on, which we'll get into that after. But these are the modules you want equipped. MP conversion for massive skill cooldown. You do take a hit on your MP, but the cooldown reduction is significant. Spear and Shield for the defense and skill power flat modifier multiplier. Skill extension for your skill duration. I use mid-air maneuvering as my mobile mod. You guys can use whichever one you want. This is the one I prefer to get out of situations, just get across the map and, you know, keep circling around the boss. But anyone you're comfortable using, you can use. Skill concentration for the huge skill critical hit damage. Nimble Fingers for cooldown reduction. Focus on fire with the fire skill power. multiplier and skill cooldown reduction, emergency measures again for skill critical hit rate and crit damage, and MP accelerant for the skill duration and 3.7% MP. I'm capped out with mod capacity, which is why I cannot use a fully upgraded one, even though I have a fully upgraded one. So if you look with those modules, my cooldown on overkill goes from 80 seconds to 25.4. My duration goes to 12.4. And my continuous burn damage on the orb is 6.2 seconds. This to me feels by far the most consistent and reliable across the board, from mobbing to hard dungeons to bossing. This is why I use this build no matter what content I'm doing. I highly recommend you guys do that. In addition, the reactor that we're using with the fire and tech boosts the damage on your ultimate significantly, which trivializes hard content in any boss fight. Also, it buffs your grenade damage for mobbing. You traction grenade, pull them in, you throw your grenade, it's going to hit like a Mack truck. Everything's going to die, and even if they do not die, the burning damage that from overkill, overclock, that will leave on the mob for 10.5 seconds, they'll die. If they don't die from the impact, they'll die from an almost 11 second burn. And it's just feels so much better in everything that you're doing out there. For the mods on the weapon, this is mandatory. You want sharp precision shot, and you want fire rate up. These are the only two mods in your weapon that will directly impact and affect the firing rate of your overkill ultimate on your firearm. So as long as you have these mods equipped, I highly recommend upgrading them to full. You don't have to do this right away, at least have the basic version in there. I would definitely focus on your mods and your character first, but this is what you want on your weapon. And remember, these mods are ammo specific, so this is for the special rounds. So make sure that you put the mod on your weapon that meets the mounting condition for your reactor. In my case, it's special rounds, so I'm using the Secret Garden tactical rifle, and I upgraded these mods. If you're going to use general rounds, you also need to make sure you have the sharp precision shot and fire rate up upgraded for general rounds. Same thing for high powered rounds, etc. It is ammo specific. Okay, don't upgrade this mod and then realize you can't equip it on your general rounds weapon, and realize after you're not getting the power increase or the speed increase on your overkill because you're using the wrong weapon, you upgraded the wrong module. Make sure you guys know exactly what you're doing. So that is the mods for the weapons, and that is the build. So if that's all you're here for, that is it. I use that for everything. Let's get into the video, and I'll talk through the videos and go over exactly my thought process, how I approach the fights. I'll show you quick kills, and I'll show you average kills, and I'll show you kills that are not so good, because majority of us play the game in 4-player content. That is what the real content in game is. It's 4-player. The bosses are harder and more health, and it's always a different group that you're gonna be with. That is why my Fearmaky build, to me, in my opinion, is by far the most consistent build, because no matter what group you come up with, whether they're good, they're average, or they're beginner, you're going to have a good time. You're going to carry the group. You're going to consistently kill bosses and kill them faster. And once you get it fully upgraded, you'll literally be able to single-handedly carry fights and finish the group. And survivability is also great. And I'm also building this for the future, like I said, for season 1 and other harder content that'll be out there. I would not take my solo bossing build and all of that into 4-player solo. I have, don't get me wrong, with me and my friends and other groups, I will take this. I will play around with every build and get quick kills with this. But sometimes it can be a complete disaster, complete shit show. Everybody dies, the boss doesn't get killed automatically in 10 seconds, and it's a wipe, and it's embarrassing, and it's frustrating. And to get to this point here also, it's going to take a lot of grinding, a long time, and it's not consistent. So I'm with you guys 100%, which is why I have this build. But let's get into the videos. Let's go over exactly what I do in each fight so we don't prolong the video too long. All right, I have commentary on this video already from our original kill, so I'll let that play once we get to it. But I want you guys to hear and see exactly my thought process, how we approach each fight, how strategically we do them. We don't do this for every single fight, but this here we did this on purpose so you guys can understand what's happening and calling out cooldowns, etc.
I think the S is definitely one of those characters that people slept on release.
Shoulder can be grabbed.
I'm
Focus the other shoulder.
Ride.
Focus the right shoulder, all of us. Yeah, weaken that right shoulder. And then we're only gonna jump on it next time he comes down. Okay, so his shoulder's gonna be weak when he's out of his immunity phase. And then whoever grabs it, just prolong it, and he will die before the next immunity. I'm gonna regen mana. Let's do this correctly, strategically, and we can one phase him. That's how we should be doing every boss.
I didn't even break the shoulder I was on. I just held on to it to the end.
Nice.
So it's still weak.
Oh, that's even clutch. Okay.
I mean, there's no point in breaking it. You're not doing that much damage to him by doing that.
That's so true. There, can you grab? I'm not gonna use my ultimate till you guys grab. So a great tip here, if you see in my peripheral, I see that there's a mana orb to my right. I'm gonna pop overclock in my ultimate and roll into the mana orb, so I have full mana as I'm unleashing my ultimate. I missed one shot, but we're fine. I'm out of ammo. So we're good. Oh, we broke the other shoulder?
Yeah, then we broke it without getting on it.
Break the knees if you can, then. So the beauty about this build is my ultimate's coming up. It's
go for the kneecaps.
Overkill, and the boss goes into an intermission. I'm going to use this time to
Make sure
get out of
highlighted in
combat,
blue and
fill
go for
my
the
mana up
kneecaps.
to full with the MP recovery out of combat. I am running over other
Yeah,
orbs,
it's gonna be like a
and then
sliver
pop my
again, isn't
ultimate
it?
and finish him.
He dies here. Good job, boys. Yeah, after the shoulders are weakened, yeah, try not to hit it, right? So that way we can just keep grabbing it. And then we can definitely cheese the fight. Not cheese the fight, do the fight the right way. By not making him go in, by prolonging his immunity phase.
So what I'm talking about there is when his shoulder becomes yellow, you can grab it, and the original thought is you want to break it right away. Don't do that. Just hold right click, stay on the shoulder as long as possible. The moment the player is on the shoulder, the boss does not gain his bar underneath his health, which will make him go into the immunity state. So you want to prolong that as much as possible to allow your teammates to dish out as much damage without increasing the immunity bar. Alright, so for Dead Bride, I'll do a commentary over the video and what I'm doing. So immediately when the fight starts, this is a public match, by the way, and of course the Fearmaky build, loadout with mods and weapons, etc. I get over here to the left, I pop overclock, I delay my overkill, then pop it, and then I just unleash on her. She will be moving sometimes depending on the attempts you do, so make sure you anticipate that. See, like I missed probably one orb there or two. But you unleash your whole ultimate onto her, and I swap to my Enduring Legacy machine gun, and I just use that as a filler while my ultimate's coming up. If you notice my ultimate timer, it's already down to 10 seconds now before it comes up. I know that because I'm on a 25-second timer, so halfway through, roughly, it's about 12 seconds, 12 and a half seconds. So the boss is going to her immunity state here. In my mind, I want to get out of combat right away to regen my mana. So I'm not going to shoot her and get myself in combat. So you can see I'm just running around trying to get close to the other players, because typically she's going to charge or teleport to a player. So I want to be within line of sight so I can gun down her canisters on her right arm, just like I'm doing there. And now my mana's full, my ultimate's ready to go. Depending on the fight or the attempt, I'll release my ultimate here to try to burn her canisters down right away. because it will come back up again in another 25 seconds. I'll leave that choice up to you. You know, but you can do that and then you'll be out of combat. In my case here, I'm choosing to just stay active and shoot down the canisters with my Enduring Legacy, as opposed to just doing my ultimate and running away again for 10 seconds. Now I'm going to go around to the right. I want to stay close to her. I know she's going to do one more globe. Well, it's like that player just downed himself. Actually, that was the second globe. Now she's out of her immunity. I pop overclock, pop my ultimate, and I release on her. This is the beauty of this build, because it's damage on demand. Whenever you want to do it, whenever you want to cast it, it's there, it's ready to go, because I'm out of combat. Again, I swapped to the Enduring Legacy. I'm using that as filler DPS to bring her down. She went back into her immunity state. I know she's going to do her globe, so I'm going to back away from her at this time here as well. In my mind, I'm going to stay out of combat, try not to be in line of sight, try not to get aggro from the ads. I'm out of combat there now. You see my mana bar regenerating like crazy. My ultimate is back up already, but I'm only at half mana. I'm going to glide across, pick up the ammo there while in midair, as well as the mana globes. I dodge her arm. As soon as you see that animation, dodge it immediately. Now I know she's going to do one more globe. She should be doing one more globe. There it is. So that's it. After that, she's going to come out of her immune state, and we'll be ready to pop our ultimate again and burn her down. Again, it's your option. You can use it here on her arm, transition her quickly, or you could just wait till she's out of her immunity, which is what I would recommend doing. And then as soon as she's out, you pop your ultimate and she's done. That is why this build is so consistent. It's so nice. Your ultimate is always up. See, I'm popping overclock. There it is. Popping ultimate. I'm going to jump to get the shot in there. Got it. And now she's dead. So I probably have 300 hours in the game now. And to me, this by far feels the most consistent with Lepic. So I do have multiple builds, multiple variations, but if you were to ask me, what is the one build that you go to, that you use 90% of the time? This is this build because of this reason. No matter what group you're with, whether they're extremely geared, they're beginner groups, you're going to have consistent battles, consistent fights, consistent damage because of this loadout. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll go over one more fight so you understand the thought process and how it is. So this here is hard mode Devourer. I'm going to show you 3 different kills on what most likely you'll encounter in public play. Sometimes you'll come across amazing groups, sometimes you'll come across average groups, sometimes you'll come across beginner groups. And even I come across them with my build. It doesn't matter. There's no, exception here. It's completely RNG. This group here is this was a very fast kill. We have 2 glaze here, I believe. And I pop my ultimate. My intention is to be in front of the boss. Ideally, you want to have Devourer facing your Lepic, so he gets the most shots in his chest and his shoulders. Have an easier time, but in this case, it didn't matter. We did so much damage to the boss and the group that it was an extremely fast kill. So this is probably what you'll get as a highlight on YouTube and clickbait videos. But not every kill is like this. So there's really nothing to go over the fight there. It's just the players are really good, they're really geared, they have their builds figured out, and chances are if you're playing this late into the game, you're going to come across groups like that. Especially if you have multiple Lepics in your group, the fights are going to go very fast. But what happens if you come across a group that's not so geared and not so prepared? Well, that's exactly what we're going to go over next, so you guys can understand and see again how well the build is, how well rounded the build is, and why I recommend using it for all your play. So with this group here, I would consider this an average kill time. You can see here we have a Lepic that's level 34 only. He's not max level, so you're going to come across a lot of lobbies like that where players are not max leveled, or they're probably paragon in their characters, so they won't be as strong at their highest potential that their character can be. But with this build, you can still help and carry the group and be consistent. We have like 1300 shield, 4500 health. It's very safe. Of course, you have to dodge mechanics and things like that. But I pop my ultimate, go for the chest, go for the shoulders. Now I'm using Enduring Legacy to fill in the gap while my ultimate and my mana comes back up. So he's going into his immunity state. Our goal here is to get him out of the immunity state immediately. So I'm going to jump in with the guys here, help him burst down the shield. We're going to go for the next one. I'm paying attention to my mana. I'm in combat, so I cannot gain mana right now. That's not my build. So right now the boss is down. I'm going to run through the boss. I'm not attacking anything. I reloaded. I'm grabbing these mana orbs. You can see I'm not engaging the boss. I'm just staying out of combat. As long as you don't attack the boss and get hit by anything, you're out of combat. So I'm out of combat, regen the mana, pop my overclock, pop ultimate, and now we're going to finish the boss. So you have to understand how that works, because if I was to shoot there and waiting for mana orbs, I would have prolonged the fight. We probably wouldn't have killed him in this phase. You know, it would have gone to another immunity phase, etc. So you have to understand and play out of combat, regen your mana, play around your ultimate. That's how I like to play. That is why, to me, the build is the most consistent and reliable. But now let's go over a Devourer kill, which I would call it a beginner group. Okay, so the key things to take away from this video here and why I'm showing it is to literally showcase why the Fearmaky build with the low cooldown reduction is consistent and reliable. Because even in a group that's not so geared or experienced, you can still carry and still, you know, bring the group to victory. You can see I popped my ultimate. We deleted the shield of bringing the boss down really low, 3/4 health, 5/8. I'm gonna go to half health there. Yeah, about 50% health, but then he becomes immune. Same thing, I pull out the Enduring Legacy. One trick here with the Enduring Legacy is instead of aiming down sights, you just want to hip fire. The reason for hip firing, you can do however you want to play. Sometimes I aim down, sometimes I hip. But I would recommend hip firing so you can see those green bombs landing. And it will allow you to easily dodge them while you're hip firing. When you're aiming down sights, you can barely see your feet or what's happening around you, and most likely you'll get hit by the poison. So try to hip fire, it'll make your life easier. So this guy goes down. I could choose to attack and use my ultimate, but I had no mana. I might as well res him while my mana regens. I'm staying out of combat. And I'm gonna pop my overclock and ultimate and burn him down. The boss was almost full health again, but with my ultimate here, we should be able to bring him really low. I feel like sometimes the overkill doesn't hit or hits like mid-air because the boss should have been a lot lower. But you can see here all three of them died, and because of my survivability, health, and shield, and with the build, I was able to survive the poison dots and ticks and able to res and salvage the run. That would have been a complete wipe there if I was using my glass cannon build or a build that's not so reliable. And that's the difference. If you use those glass cannon builds in a situation like that where other players will die and will make mistakes, if you're using low health, low resistance, no survivability mods, you're gonna die as well, and that can be a complete wipe, and it's just frustrating for everybody all the way around. So because of my balanced module loadout, I was able to salvage the run and bring the group to victory, pop the ultimate here, and finish the boss. So I highly recommend you guys using this build if you're having a hard time clearing content and not going for the glass cannon or solo boss builds unless you're really comfortable and you know what you're doing. Let's go over Pyromaniac and we'll be done with the video. Alright, so with Pyromaniac, this is a very good fight to showcase the low cooldown on the build, how viable it is, and the mana recovery out of combat, because there's multiple opportunities here in this fight to get your ultimate back up and have full mana right away. And I'll go over that as I'm doing the fight. That was a big crit there on the opener. You want to aim at his shoulders if possible, at his chest. There's a weak point there as well. Again, he moves just like Dead Bride, so make sure you don't miss your shots. swap to the Enduring Legacy for filler shots, and now the boss is in this immunity state. I don't know why I didn't go up here. 90% of the time, I am going up. I like to shoot from up top. You have a clear line of sight on his canister on his back. It just makes it easier, and you don't have to deal with the ground mechanics as much. But if everybody comes up here, then the boss will cast his rings around here and break the platforms. And you won't have any, a good time if everybody's doing the same thing. But for Lepic, since I'm waiting for my ultimate and mana to come back anyways, it just works. That's what I do. So my ultimate has been back up. My mana is still though at quarter because I'm in combat, because I wanted to push him out of his immunity phase by breaking the canister. So now you can see I'm going to jump down. I'm going to get out of combat, not engage the boss anymore. I should have actually done that sooner, but because I was going, ham on this canister, it was fine. So you can see how I'm going to pop overclock ultimate, and I popped and rolled it into the mana orb. I walked over another one. I purposely ran over next to the mana orb to pop my ultimate, so that way I get free mana back while my ultimate is going. And you can see I had full charges there, no issue. So if you always see mana orbs on the ground, try to use your overkill next to them. Don't pick them up right away. Pop your overclock, pop your ultimate, and then roll into the mana orbs. That way you get an additional shot or two by just getting free mana on the ground. So you always want to play around that as well, because that could be the difference between one shot or two shots, if you're running out of mana. So same thing here. I'm going to try to get out of combat so I can get max mana. I'm out of combat. I'm not going to try to hit not the fire. Yeah. I popped overclock, popped ultimate, and he should die here. My ultimate is always up. I'm always playing around it. I'm always playing strategically and getting in and out of combat, bursting the boss down whenever I want. This is why I like the Fearmaky build the most. It's consistent, it's balanced, it's well-rounded, it's survivability, and it's damage on demand, right? As opposed to doing the solo boss build where if you don't kill the boss in 8 seconds, now you're stuck with no ultimate. You either have to kill yourself, and if other people die, you lose the run. It's not so group friendly. In addition, when new content comes out, which I'm sure will be harder, those glass cannon builds, you're just gonna have a miserable time in the runs. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to comment, like. 96% of the viewers who watch my channel are not subscribed, so please hit that subscription button. It helps me out tremendously, and it lets me know that you guys want to see additional content from me in the future. So please keep inspiring me, guys. Keep motivating me. You guys take care of yourselves and roll deep. Woo!